I also can't see the slides, but hopefully they're maybe, you'll let me know if they're not. So I've introduced already the Scottish Futures Trust. I just wanted to flag that we have a net zero buildings team dedicated work stream, which I'm obviously part of. And we're working on public sector building standards, innovative finance for green income, and obviously heat networks, which I'm here to talk about today. We're made up of a mix of financial, legal, and technical specialists. Unfortunately, they've sent along a lawyer today, so I can only apologise for that. I just want to cover a couple of things today. Some of it's already been spoken about, so we won't have to spend time. A bit about the journey for net zero and specifically the role of heat networks that the Scottish Government and we see in meeting those difficult targets. Some of the challenges around delivering heat networks in Scotland, and then most importantly, the pre-capital support that the Scottish Government and the Scottish Futures Trust and Zero Waste Scotland are working together to provide to help overcome some of those challenges. I also have some other slides at the end on some other support that's available. So if heat networks are not specifically relevant to you, just to make aware of some of the other funds that are available. And just before I start, I know some of you are thinking, well, I'm never going to build a heat network, but heat networks are a really important solution and a big part of meeting the targets and has a very complicated supply chain and delivery. So if you're involved in a project, you're speaking to customers, they're looking for solutions, they don't know exactly how to come up with the right heat network solution, you think you could be part of it, and please do make them aware of the support the Scottish Government is offering, because it includes pre-feasibility and feasibility support, so helping people come up with the technical solutions that will deliver an efficient and commercial network. So we covered some of this today. I think the things I would like to speak about primarily the Heat Network Scotland Act. So we do have an act now, and we are working with the Scottish Government at the moment to develop the regulations under that act. So heat networks are not regulated in Scotland at the moment, but they will be soon. But we're hoping to design that regulation so that it supports commercial delivery, and we're working on that. The other key thing in this timeline is local heat and energy efficiency strategies. Hopefully many of you are aware of that. Local councils are developing these, including target areas for retrofit and specific decarbonisation works to buildings, but also identifying potential heat network zones or areas where heat networks would be particularly suitable. Part of this, the big challenge, as mentioned by Sharon already, is we've got a lot to do. We have to decarbonise 1 million homes and around 50,000 non-domestic buildings in order to meet our targets for 2030. At the moment, only 11% of Scotland's households have renewable or low energy emission systems, and some of that might be electric storage heating, so although it's technically low carbon, it may not be efficient and therefore not something that we want to keep in the long term. So we've got a long way to go. We need to increase the scale and deployment of these low regret strategic technologies in order to meet those targets. And heat networks are a big opportunity for that because they allow an opportunity to deliver sustainable heat at scale. So you can target entire developments, new developments or existing, in large commercial spaces, all with one delivery partner or one body reaching large number of buildings at once. So it has coordination benefits. A heat network is something that hopefully you're all aware of, but it's essentially a network to supply heat to multiple buildings from a single energy centre, sometimes with substations in between. This is distinct from communal heating, which is communal heating for a single building. The benefits of heat networks is that they provide secure, resilient, low-carbon heat supply, and they can be technology agnostic. So a lot of the heat networks in Scotland today are currently gas CHP, but they will have the potential to be decarbonised in the future. And so you may also be providing solutions now that you can adapt in the future. Once the network is there, as technology moves on, we can update how the heat is produced for those networks. As I've mentioned, it provides a large-scale solution, but it also offers economies of scale. So it allows us to exploit some low-carbon solutions that we can't do on an individual basis. So, for example, energy from waste or industrial waste heat, or waters, river, ground. For customers, there are benefits too, in terms of reduced plant space, reduced cost and maintenance, and ability to adapt and grow over time. So your opportunities may be small now, but we ask you to think in the future about how the heat networks that you might be involved in could grow. Where are we at today versus where we want to be? So it's estimated there are over 800 heat networks in Scotland today, serving around 25,000 customers. As I mentioned, most of those are currently gas CHP, and they're in a mix of private and public ownership. It's an unregulated sector, and at the moment a relatively niche solution for decarbonised heat due to the prevalence of mains gas. To contrast this with many of the Scandinavian countries where heat networks are actually the primary way that people heat their homes. And many of those customers have been insulated from increasing gas prices because they have an alternative source of heating. So I'm told by our Danish friends that being connected to a heat network is a big source of envy at this point in Denmark in a pub conversation. But where do we want to get to in Scotland? So the Heat Network Scotland Act actually contains statutory targets for delivering heat network capacity. We're looking to connect to the equivalent of 400,000 homes by 2030, so that's 6 terawatt hours of heat. The majority of these in 2030 will be powered by renewables or waste heat. We'll be working in a regulated sector, and the goal is to have significant private sector involvement in ownership, operation and investment, because the scale of the investment challenge to meet these targets is significant. So some work recently done by Rambo Scottish Enterprise estimated that we need around 5 billion of investment up to 2030 to meet these targets. So it's a lot of money. And part of what we're trying to do is to bring that money forward and make sure that it's invested when it happens. Why is it not happening now? So at the moment, a lot of the heat networks in Scotland are quite small scale, and we're not seeing strategic developments that we need in order to meet the target. There's a significant upfront capital investment required in order to make them work, and quite often a long payback period, which for many participants is quite unattractive. But there is capital grant funding available, as well as the pre-capital support that we're going to be talking about today. Obviously, we've had a lot of competition with other heat sources, particularly cheap gas. Now we're in a slightly different environment where some of these alternative solutions are looking more attractive. But the end of the renewable heat incentive is also making some of the projects quite complicated and challenging to deliver. We've recognised that delivering a heat network is not straightforward because it often involves the coordination of multiple stakeholders, particularly large anchor loads from the NHS or from the public sector, and bringing people together at the right time has proved challenging in the past. At the moment in Scotland, there's no compulsion to connect a heat network in the area, in contrast to some of the other Nordic countries where that is in place. The government are looking at this, but until that happens, there is a complex commercial process to go through to try and underpin the case for demand through legal contracts and commitments. And then the other big challenge that we've seen that the network support unit is particularly targeted at is that we don't have the experience in Scotland of delivering these networks at scale. There is a capacity shortage and challenge, particularly within the public sector, people knowing how to bring the right skills together, how to make them investable and how to make them commercial. So through all this, recognising these challenges, the Scottish Government has identified the need for pre-capital support. So before a project is ready for grant funding or investment, helping build a business case, build a technical solution, and bridge some of these gaps. So we talked about the gaps in public sector capacity, and we're also looking to work and develop efficiencies over time. If we're going to have 400,000 homes in Scotland connected to heat networks by 2030, then we need to make the system faster to help people deliver projects, and that's something we're working on too. We're also trying to raise the commercial value of heat networks in Scotland by providing commercial and technical support to make them more efficient and to help develop business cases. And we talked about the scale of investment required. Until we can scale up and be efficient, we won't be able to attract that much money in Scotland for these projects. So we have set up the Heat Network Support Unit, which is sponsored by the Scottish Government, but it's working in collaboration with Scottish Futures Trust and Zero Waste Scotland as core partners. So Zero Waste Scotland provide technical input and feasibility support, and then we in the SFT team providing more commercial, legal and strategic support to help these projects get off the ground. It's support for the pre-capital stages. So I've done a little diagram here to visualise that. There is a lot more that happens after capital, so you don't just get your network fund money and run away, but it's not really relevant for just now, so I've chopped that bit off. We talked about LEs at the start, so local authorities are identifying opportunity areas for heat networks. And then the Heat Network Support Unit is designed to support the development of individual projects. So once you've identified the opportunity, help build the business case to attract funding. Our work is under 3 main pillars, so stakeholder engagement being the first, so that's working with different partners and interested parties who may be involved in signing up in a network to come together to help support skills and capacity building, providing training. We're also part of knowledge sharing, so we would help review business cases or help pure specialist advisors, because we've done it a number of times, so we can add value in that way. And there is also critically grant funding available for pre-capital stages. So that is funding for feasibility studies, technical work, possibly legal work, financial advisory work. And there is funding available to help build business case for these projects. In terms of eligibility, Heat Network Support Unit is intended primarily for public sector organisations, but it's not hard and fast rule. So we would ask people to demonstrate that the project wouldn't otherwise come forward if it wasn't for the support that we are offering. It's available for the development of new low or zero emission heat network projects, and the expansion of existing heat network projects is also supported. It's not designed for communal heating systems or the decarbonisation of existing systems, and I'll contrast it with grant support, which is available for those kinds of projects. But for the pre-capital support, we're trying to target big opportunities that will not otherwise come forward, so that are complex and need support to deliver, and arguably decarbonising an existing network is not in that category. But I have been asked to emphasise that if you have a project that you think could be successful and needs support, then please do approach Scottish Government, approach us, and we will see if we can find support from someone. Support can be applied for heat network development at any time, so there's no deadline. We're running a rolling programme. If you have an idea and you want to come forward with it, that can happen at any point. And you don't have to necessarily know exactly what help you need. So if you describe the project and who's involved and who's leading and what stage you're at, then we can help decide whether that looks like grant funding for technical work, or whether it's critical friend type support, sitting on a steering group at the start, perhaps moving to something else. We are flexible. So I have talked a little bit about what's available already. I mentioned funding, so that's support to deliver business case and commercialisation. So that could be professional fees, for example, or part of professional fees. If you don't know what your technical solution is exactly, or you need to refine it, then Zero Waste Scotland are there to help with that themselves, but they also have a framework where they can procure technical advice to help develop the right solutions too. We also have lots of guidance and templates available, and we can help people access them, understand where the best places to look are for some of that support. And that's probably the main role that we in Scottish Futures Trust provide, is this critical friend position. So we're offering knowledge transfer, skills and capacity building. We can help sit on project boards, review draft business cases, review draft papers to help make sure you're getting the most out of your advisors that you are paying as well. So we can sit on the side of projects in that respect too. We have a website, networksupport.scot, where there's lots of resources and information about what the unit is providing. And there's also contact emails as well, so if you have queries, you can come at us and we'll see if we can help. I was also asked by my Scottish Government colleague to flag a couple of other things that are available. Fortunately, I don't need to speak about this because Sharon's done a really good job already, but this is about the delivery plan, which obviously is new for them. They're really, and it's very relevant for those here, so if you haven't read it, I would recommend it. And then just finally to flag some of the other funding programmes that are available, which if you don't fit exactly within a heat network fund, which is the capital support, or heat network support, which is the pre-capital I've just talked about, there may be other things. So we have the social housing fund, which is about for registered social landlords, the green public sector state decarbonisation programme. So that's everything from retrofit to energy solutions. And if you have a customer or a client that's struggling to fund that's in the public sector, then please do ask them to have a look at this. That grant programme is rolling, so there are various deadlines over the next year or so. There's lots of opportunities for that. Some of you may be aware more of Home Energy Scotland and other smaller base schemes. There's a district heating loan fund which can act as match funding. So if you got grant funding for your network through the capital fund, you may also be able to take a loan through the loan fund. There are area-based schemes available, delivered by local authorities, which will differ depending where you are. Warmer Home Scotland, which is particularly targeted to those in fuel poverty. And then finally there are some more bigger funds which are less directed to buildings but may be relevant for depending on the industry and what you're doing. One is the Industrial Energy Transformation Fund, looking for decarbonising energy intensive industries, and then we have Emerging Energy Technologies Fund, which is some of the more new technologies that we can support. So hopefully Emma will share these slides. It's not you don't have to write it all down. But what I would emphasise is there are a lot of funds available, and it is really worth looking into them, because the Scottish Government have a lot of money to spend in this Parliament, and they really do want to use it to help meet some of these targets. So please, it is worth investigating. Thank you very much.